No man in the world. No man in the world.
The measure of any society is how it treats its women and girls. The measure of any society is how it treats its women and girls.
We create
The smart, powerful, creative, accomplished young women.
We can fight.
I'm here because of you. I'm here because girls like you inspire me.
No man is big enough for us.
Many of these girls have faced unthinkable obstacles just to attend school.
No man is big enough for us.
The measure of any society is how it treats.
Buckle up, buttercups. It's another episode of Surly Voices here on WMNF Tampa 88.5. My name is Liz. I'm one of your hosts. My co-hosts, Donna and Maria, are joining me via Zoom. How are you this morning, ladies?
Good morning.
Well, just good morning.
Yeah. But, you know,
We're here.
who hasn't been waiting to come on and just, bust everything out? Before we get started with the actual show, WMNF's music festival called Tropical Heat Wave is coming up Saturday, April 25th. You can get tickets and find more information at WMNF.org. Stay tuned, because later in the show, like much later in the show, we're going to give away one pair of tickets to WMNF's Tropical Heat Wave. So, what shall we talk about today, ladies? Oh, let me give this early disclaimer up top, because I think it's going to come in handy. The opinions expressed on Surly Voices are those of Surly Voices and not those of WMNF Tampa. So, who wants to kick it off?
Well, I think that we should scrap the show and just start doing tarot readings on the usual suspects. Because the way things are going, our prognostication and holding forth is about as useful as a tarot reading.
Right. Well, that's true. I found it very interesting. Well, number one, Pam Bondi got absolutely dumped by Trump, which of course was going to happen, always going to
Shortly
happen.
after we ended this show, I might add.
Exactly.
Yes.
So it's like, causation or correlation. But anyway, the thing about that is, and it's true in all aspects of life, is, okay, women, you surround yourself with women who are educated and should have good sense, but they don't, because they want proximity to power. And as soon as they become inconvenient to you, you just dump them. And that is a pattern that repeats over and over again. And that's why we always preach about, don't chase after this proximity to power, because all it does is sustain the patriarchy. So there's that. What else, Maria, Donna?
Wow.
I think that she got exactly what she asked for, and what, the NRA crowd, not the NRA, the NRA crowd, the ERA types, right? They're saying, hey, we really, not the black women who have been beguiled into these movements, but the white women who have Ivy League degrees, and they simply want parity with their fellows, no pun intended. And they will often seek it at a price. This is no different than Black people who want proximity and influence and are willing to seek it at a price. And so she simply got what, think of, remember Alan Keyes?
Yes.
Okay. Tiger Woods. I mean, the list is long. People are going to find out. Chile is going to find out what happens when you do things that don't make sense to people who have loved you and held you,
Right.
and then you betray them, and then you lie about betraying them.
Same with Gloria Gaynor with the I Will Survive. That's what she was famous for back in the day. And that is like a huge anthem in certain spaces. And turns out she's a big MAGA supporter. So
Oh, wow.
guess what? We don't play at certain spaces anymore.
Dang, that was my jam.
I know. That's one of my go-to karaoke songs. And now, well, here we are.
Here we are.
So, things you never thought you'd see. President talking about his manufactured war during an Easter egg roll at the White House. An Easter message that I cannot read as it's written on this radio station because of FCC guidelines. Trump or his administration threatening the Pope is like either get on board or get aside. It's like, what? And then all these evangelical, quote unquote, Christians laying hands upon Trump in the White House and turns out the whole purpose of, their whole purpose of starting the war in Iran is to bring about the apocalypse and everybody get raptured up, which, I mean, it's like, maybe we're not ready to go.
Well, we are yearning for source at this point as a global collective. We're yearning to return to source. Like babies, the whole job of having a baby is keeping them from going back to God,
Right.
for the first 20 years.
Exactly. If I raise you to be an adult, I didn't do all a bad job,
No, you made it. You are still here among the living in this realm.
Oh my gosh.
So, yeah.
So, but and outright threatening genocide. We're gonna blow the whole country. And it's like I said, I'd love to read this text because it just shows how unhinged he is. But unfortunately,
They're all unhinged.
yeah. But this one on Easter morning, when folks
Yeah,
are celebrating.
Okay, but how about Easter Monday when they told the Pope either get on board this train or we're coming for you too?
Yep. And it's like it's a parade of horribles. Which one is worse? So it's like I should think that threatening the head of the Catholic Church to get on board or get out of the way, I should think that ranks pretty high on tickets to hell.
Well, at least it's like reverse jihad. Right?
Yeah.
You're going after the Christians instead of going after the reverse jihad. Listen, first of all, I can't talk about the president. It's hard to say that right now, but I can't talk about him because he is and has been unhinged. And we've all known it. We knew it the first time. We knew it more the second time. And in an effort to protect whiteness and all of its accoutrement, people rallied around this guy once again. And now people like Tucker Carlson, Pamela Bondi, Megyn Kelly, Candace, they're all having buyer's remorse. But you read the label. You tasted you had the Costco paper cup of sample.
Yep.
You saw the Surgeon General's warning.
Come on the package with the skull and crossbones. Get out of here.
That big red lettering, do not drink.
You saw the Surgeon General's warning.
May cause death and destruction globally.
Right. And again, I go back to the Democrats and hold them partially responsible. Sorry, Mary, but that's just the way it is. I mean,
Oh my goodness.
if the Democrats had put up somebody palatable to the masses, Kamala just does not have the riz to be able to pull out an election. And who else doesn't have the riz? Mayo Pete. If Mayo Pete comes along, he needs to be chucked to the
I mean,
side.
I don't like. It's not just the riz; it's the policy,
Right.
right?
Right.
Like I told people the other day, I'm supporting every primary challenger on that I can think of, right?
Right,
Because we cannot go on with business as usual. I cannot support anybody who has not stood 10 toes down against this guy,
Yes.
right? And has not given voice to what this is. And you look at who are the so-called elected leaders in Congress for the Democrats, and they're all hiding under the bed.
Well, yeah, it's like where's
What are we going to do? Oh, what are we doing? But then you have a handful of people, right, that are just actually saying, no, this is wrong. No, we can't do this.
Right.
Right. And then all of them are killing each other, stepping over each other, trying to jockey for position to run for president. And none of them have said anything to
Not
make
one.
a compelling argument as to why it should be them.
Right. Except, Gavin Newsom's got a PR staff that's churning out memes and stuff. But that's,
Yes. At the same time, he's on every single podcast of every single right wing extremist.
Yes, he
Yeah.
is.
it's
And
like
he
As
has
if,
been
as
since
if that is going to warm the cockles of my heart. Not going to
and he
happen.
has been since the last election. This started. last year.
Does he think that he's going to swing over these folks into the Democratic category? That ain't going to happen.
He thinks that if he speaks into straight white males listening, they'll say, okay, so he might have some liberal policies that I don't agree with, but he can be counted on me not to turn on my, to compromise my position as a white man at the top of the social pecking order and the financial pecking order, economic pecking order, which is really what it all comes down to, right? Nobody really cares about what trans people are or are not doing. They really care about the idea of gender and gender superiority
Right.
for certain people being toppled. That's what it is all about. Once one block comes out of the Jenga stack, the entire thing is in risk of being challenged. So if there are lesbians on the planet, God forbid, women don't want to have men in their lives romantically or intimately for one reason or other, right? Because there's no reason that a woman would ever, even right? Women are now, I read the other day that a woman says that, she was a 2.5 on a scale of 1 to 6 to be gay. But then she just said, okay, I'm good enough. 2.5 is good enough. I'm done with men. And she just got herself a woman and they had a kid and went on about their business.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, she said, I'm gay enough.
Well, that's why the women choose the bear. It's like the alternative. You got a shot. The bear won't even bother with you in the area.
So octopi apparently throw rocks at each other. Okay.
Oh.
Which is a very octopus thing to do. Okay. And so there's a video, it's an AI video online. I post AI stuff because it's funny and it tells stories. We're still telling stories. You know what I mean? I should just start posting disclaimers with this stuff because anyway, so it's an AI video of a one-eyed octopus looking angry and throwing a rock at a man. And somebody said in the comments, even if you are underwater and you grow 6 more arms and you have one eye, still choose the bear. This is a message to women everywhere.
Okay.
Oh my gosh. You're listening to Surly Voices on WMNF Tampa 88.5. You can give us a call at 813-239-9663, or you can email to dj@wmnf.org. org.
Now, I know these men are about to start calling in, so let me
Yes.
just jump right in here and say another disclaimer. Y'all, we are not anti-man. We have brothers, sons, fathers whom we hold dear in our lives. We have friends, community members, some of you even that we love and care about, and we're grateful for your existence. So please don't, call in and say that we're bashing men, because we're not. We're like making fun of the fact that there's just been the largest ongoing crime in the history of the world is misogyny. And we need to acknowledge that. So when we see people like Pamela Bondi doing the things that she's done, she's acting outside the context of history and with no regard for herself or other women or other humans.
Worshiping at the altar of patriarchy.
Yes.
Drinking at the fountain of foolishment.
So now Pam Bondi was supposed to be testifying about the handling of the Epstein files, and now she says she's not because she's not in office anymore.
Lock her up. Lock her up.
I heard from a credible source. It was Atlantic. It was either the Atlantic, one of these, New Yorker, one of these magazines said that she begged him for her job.
Yes.
Yes, I saw that too because he fired her on the limo going to some event they were going to.
It was on his way to his speech.
Yes,
I think. Yeah.
and he fired her, and she was like, "Please don't fire me." And it's like, really?
Girl,
I'd have been like, "Stop this car and let me out." Bye.
Okay.
Well, I wouldn't have been in this situation in the first place because no.
what does it mean when the nastiest, most vindictive man in politics that we know of fires the nastiest and most vindictive woman in politics that we know of? So this will bring me back to 2017 when my husband was stressing out about the outcomes of the election. And 2016. And I said to him, no, it was January 17, right? February. And I told him, that's a den of snakes. And there's no honor amongst thieves. So dry your tears. They will eat each other alive.
Yeah.
And before you know it, it was Comey, and it was Michael Cohen, and it was Breitbart guy. The Alex Jones billion-dollar lawsuits. I mean, they self-immolated, and we watched them. It was like a coven of really bad people setting each other afire. And it's still like that. They're still doing it. I've never seen such chaos and salacious drama coming out of people who are supposed to already have mastered governing themselves so that they can go about the business of governing others.
Right. All right. So we have some callers in the queue. We have Country from Tampa. Hi, Country.
So, last week, right at the end of our and good morning. ladies.
Good morning.
Excuse me for being so rude to jump right into my silliness.
We don't mind.
It's
Go
not
ahead.
silly. I said, if we have free and fair elections without putting my brain in gear, knowing for not hundreds, but at least 100 years of not having free and fair elections in this country, because we
At least.
excluded great swaths of our constituency in this country. And after the Voting Rights Act passed in 1966, now the Republicans are up to completely trying to wipe it completely out. So free and fair. So anyway, they haven't been.
No.
And we're
Elections
just-
have never
right.
been free and fair.
No.
Never.
No. Never. And I would even go as far to say, and this is very radical, if there is a human being in this country that's earning a paycheck and paying into Social Security, he should be able to bring that down to a polling place and place a vote. And I know that's extremely radical and it's farcical, to most people, but I see and have seen ever since I was young, people working in the fields, feeding the populace of this country and not having a damn thing to say about the conditions they live in.
All right.
Be that as it may.
Thank you so much
Second
for
of all-
calling, country.
One second, dear.
I have to let you go. I got other folks in the queue. So sorry, but call us next week and give us an update.
Democratic President.
Thank you.
All right. Steve in Tampa. Hi, Steve.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Appreciate the show, and I love the song that starts the show. I was just calling to say I think he actually fired Pam Bondi on the way to try to intimidate the Supreme Court.
Yeah,
Yes.
that's where he was
Yes,
going, Donnie.
you're right.
Yes.
Even a bigger hit. Thanks for the show.
Thank you so much for calling, Steve.
Take care. Bye.
Thanks for the clarification.
Yeah. So Sarah sent us an email and she said Trump fired Bondi to stop her from testifying on Epstein, etc. This was suggested on Democracy Now! I don't go along with that theory because of this. As the Attorney General, she had a lot more protection than she does as a private citizen. And I don't know how she thinks she's going to escape a
Subpoena.
subpoena. Yes, thank you. The lawyer has a blank on subpoenas.
It's a caffeine deficiency.
Yes,
However,
it is.
Even Nancy Mace is forcing her to testify, which I thought was interesting. Right. I don't know that she's going to get out of. I don't know what he can do to intervene, but I don't think she can really get out of testifying.
And that is where Schumer.
Given that Hillary and Bill had to testify
Right.
too.
Exactly. That's where Schumer and Jeffries need to be stepping up and sending the marshals after her. Because it's like, no, ma'am, you don't get to sit out a congressional deposition. Thank you. No.
I do want to also add about Pam Bondi that there are several bar cases
Yes.
that are going to be refiled now that she is a private citizen.
They have already been refiled. Because the Florida bar was like taking a stance that, well, she's holding office right now, so we really can't do anything. Well, now they can. So whether they do anything remains to be seen. But she's back in Tampa. We ought to get her on the show. See. It's like, what were you thinking? Yeah. Donna, do you have any thoughts? I've seen her at events. I've never spoken with her, never had the need to. Donna, have you ever?
There's just so many of them, I have my own personal Pamela Bondi story that I'm just not going to tell you this week on the air.
Maybe.
Not this
Yeah.
week.
Not this week. All right, because it makes me tired.
Yeah.
And I've been avoiding the news. I've been avoiding Facebook. I've been hugging trees. You see me putting on my moisturizer here.
Yeah.
Because I had a VI peel. I'm having laser treatments and doing luxury things.
Ooh.
And trying to, not be concerned that we're clearly on a terrible course globally. And I'm just trying to pretend as if we're going to be around in 6 months.
Well,
because
that's
I'm
the
unsure.
thing, yeah. It's like we could all be vaporized any second now. I mean,
Right. So the other day, I kept getting these, this is hilarious. The other day, people kept saying, are we all going to die today? I mean, everyone? So people were speaking in incomplete sentences. And I just kept saying, what? Y'all,
And you know
what?
what? I gotta say that like the reaction to this thing, this statement of his just hanging out there in the ether,
Right?
I thought was just sort of mystifying to me. Like, what exactly was that, right? Like, people didn't know whether to make their bed.
Right.
Like,
Finish the liquor all the liquor they had in their house.
preparedness, right? Like, do hurricane preparedness. Make sure you got enough water and liquor and toilet paper. Or like, what was it?
Not in
Like,
that order, Maria.
No.
Not in that order.
like, people were not. The people were like they were like. They were catatonic, literally. Like, they
You know what
did
that
not
means?
know how to react to crazy, right?
No,
and
it
it's
means that
literally
they-
where we are.
You know what it means? It means that we are traumatized.
Right. It's
And traumatized people normalize that sort of thing.
right. All right. Let's see. Mark in St. Petersburg. Hi, Mark.
Good morning, ladies. It's Mark in St. Petersburg. I had two comments I wanted to make on the show. One is about Pam Bondi. She worked in Florida for several years, and by and large, she seemed to be a good attorney working for the state and was reasonably ethical in all her doings. And when she transferred into the Trump government, she somehow turned corrupted.
I suggest to you,
now-
sir, that she was corrupted to start with. She's the one who was the attorney general when we got the Epstein slap on the wrist sweetheart deal. So,
Okay.
Yeah.
Point there. Even
And
more-
she also defended Trump during his impeachment trial.
yep.
Yep, true. And there's several other examples of politicians becoming more corrupted. Perhaps Rubio, Marco Rubio. He maybe wasn't that great before, but now he's much worse.
Yes.
Part of the Trump government.
He just
And
said,
second comment. Go ahead.
no, you go ahead because you only have 2 minutes. I have the rest.
Okay. I'll just throw the other one out for your comment or disagreement. And all that's great show, by the way.
Thank you.
About the free and fair election. Up
Yeah.
until Trump, and since the 60s, since the Fair Elections Act that was made under Johnson after Kennedy died, they revised our election system. And by and large, I'm not going to say completely fair. I think it's a pretty fair system that we have in our government. And I do like the system that each state administers their elections their way. They count the ballot their way. They sort of have their own deadlines. Their mail-in ballot rules vary from state to state. And I think that's a strength of our system because if somebody were to try to corrupt it, it's hard to do because every state is doing their own system. And there's not one person like Trump is going to be able to just change all 50 states in order to
Okay.
dominate the election.
Thank you for
That's a
calling,
good
Mark.
point.
Thank you.
That's a good point Mark made. The fact that states' rights and state sovereignty kind of intercepts any effort to subvert fairness in elections on the federal level. And Trump found that out
Yep.
in 2020 when he tried to call into these states and he had various levels of buy-in. But had it been federal, then he could have simply done what they do, what despots and strongmen do in developing countries, and said, "Nope, I won," and proceed as such. And it was that, to Mark's point, it was exactly that reason. Now, what the system itself may be set up to be fair, but it's still a representative democracy. So there's a middleman in there, and so you see all of the people who get elected to the DNC, making decisions for the rest of us. Who saw that with Bernie.
Yes.
There hasn't been a sincere debate on the floor of the DNC since Fannie Lou Hamer, right? Held it up.
Yep.
So we have to, when we have these conversations about voting and states' rights, and I'm not an expert, but I've been working in the political arena professionally, not as an activist, for a couple decades. And I can tell you that as much as we the people intend to have a fair shake, we really don't. Because there are a lot of things that get in the way. So in the cities, you see them have automated processes and lots of people who show up to observe elections for fairness. But out in, Candleton, since Ohio, they're doing whatever they want and submitting the number to the supervisor of elections. They're rarely observers in these little corners, and they add up. And so that's contributed to some questions in places like Ohio over the years. And recently, West Palm Beach, Florida, where Maria is, and can talk about Susan Butcher and all of the players down there who have since been sidelined and marginalized. And I remember Susan Butcher saying to me that her job was to throw open the doors of democracy as far as the law would allow, and that she would not allow anyone to FCC prohibited word with her.
Awesome.
The thing about Susan Busher was a great secretary.
Board of Election Supervisor.
I'm sorry. We're all having brain farts this morning. She was a great supervisor of elections, and she believed in fairness.
She did.
What I will say is that we have carved back opportunities to embrace the franchise since the Obama election in a lot of states. You look at Donna, you and I talk about this all the time about how to register to vote in the state of Florida. And you can't help somebody register to vote in the state of Florida without registering with the Secretary of State in the state of Florida.
Wow.
There are a lot of hurdles with opening the franchise to everybody, which I don't think that everyone has an opportunity to vote in this country that can vote or should be able to be, who is eligible to vote, right?
Right.
You have states who permanently prohibit, and mostly southern states, prohibit people who have served time. They have permanently removed their right to vote as a consequence, and what that means is it actually nets out into a racial barrier for people to vote. In the state of Florida alone, there's over 2 million people that are eligible to vote that cannot vote because of the hurdles that we have set in front of them. Even though we, as a body, the state of Florida, people who vote, over 2/3 of us have voted to have those rights restored for people.
Right.
So that when we talk about the franchise and we talk about voters and allowing people to vote, we have done everything in our power as government to select our voters as opposed to our voters selecting who represent.
You better say it.
Right. Well, it's and look, it's the system is rigged from the start. You got the school to prison pipeline. Then the folks get out of prison and now they can't vote. And so then the people of Florida, pass a constitutional amendment. We're going to let, former felons vote for nonviolent crimes. They're not letting the murderers vote or anything like that. And then what happens? Here comes the very Republican legislature and makes it to where it's useless. And so, it's been rigged forever. And until something really drastic happens, it'll probably stay rigged forever.
Until what really drastically needs to happen is a 21st Century Voting Rights Act.
Yeah.
Right?
Oh, yes.
What was struck down by the Roberts Court was pre-clearance, because pre-clearance was targeting southern states primarily that created barriers for Black people in voting, right? Mm-hmm. And okay, if that's what you're going to do, what I feel that Congress should have done is say, okay, every state has to have pre-clearance, right?
Right.
Because we saw those same kinds of shenanigans happening in Wisconsin when they had a Republican governor, right?
Yeah.
Well, not long ago, right? They created barriers. So the northern states are not immune to creating these barriers that select their voters rather than voters selecting their government.
You're listening to Surly Voices on WMNF Tampa 88.5. Give us a call at 813-239-9663. We only have 10 minutes left for phone calls, and then if you're gonna get your call in, do it now, because sometimes the queue gets stacked and we have to bump people off. So let's see, I have an email here from Gonzo. Gonzo here in Brandon. If you had Pam on, then there would be 5,000 listeners outside that morning.
Listeners or protesters?
People who want to beat us up. Let's count them. You can call them protesters if you want.
Ain't that much parking room space.
Yeah, but I'm doing it remote. Call them whatever you want.
But, I mean, she, like anybody else of her ilk, would never come on this show because we're not going to play pity pat with her. It's like, okay, here, let's go. Let's roll. Let's rumble. Okay.
You know, Florida has its own problems right now with pretend Democrats running for the highest office in the state. No names necessary. You guys are all smart people. You know what I'm talking about. And what it looks like so you think of people like Josh Hawley here in Missouri. And so whenever I tell people I'm from Florida, they go, gosh, they're even worse than us. That's what people think of you and your Democratic Party outside. That's what people in Missouri, Democrats in Missouri, think about Democrats in Florida. But if you come to Florida, the party has celebrities and all of these people that it celebrates. Oh, we've got this amazing person on the school board and they are doing nothing.
Yeah.
The needle's not moving. The other day I heard a crazy numbers. There's the state budget in Florida. I'm going to read this from my brain, so just stay with me, right? And correct me if I get it wrong. The state budget in Florida is $114 billion total.
Wow.
There was a time when the amount of money that was being spent on charter schools was about $1 billion. I read the other day that number has gone up a few 100% to $5 billion.
Oh, wow. Wow.
So what we were doing when we were organizing, when Reverend Meyer and I were organizing under this group that we had back that was funded by Gates Foundation in 2017 and 18 was Real Talk for Education. We were concerned that school choice would gut the public schools. Now, this article said that there had only been a moderate reduction. Statewide, it said 13,000. I believe that was the number. Like I said, correct me if I'm wrong. 13,000 kids had, they had lost that number of kids. But the number of students who were receiving charters. So what does that number tell you? What it told me was people were like, I don't have to pay. People who could afford private school, parochial school, were now using state vouchers for their families.
Right.
Essentially what that does is it cancels taxes for families who can afford to pay their fair share. Mm-hmm. And so if you get 3 kids and you were paying $27,000 a year, which is a little cheap, for the country day school. When I hear day school, I know there's some real money involved.
It's like college tuition, right?
Because I have had children.
Tuition.
And I know that these schools cost money. My kids started out at a French preschool. So school education costs money in America, and it's one of the ways to keep, beating up on people for gender and sexual orientation and disability and race. It's just another way to keep that thing in place.
Right.
And so barring access, universal access to the willing to pursue a quality education is another way that we indemnify our caste system in this country. Mm-hmm. So when I hear numbers like that, you don't have to ask me, what is Florida going to be like in 10 years?
Right.
when in COVID, we had the largest influx of young Republicans in the country moving into this state.
Mm-hmm.
So I said all of that seemingly unrelated stuff to say this. When I come to St. Louis, and I was at a gas station the other night. They murdered 6 people at gas stations over the weekend. But I didn't know that until Monday morning because I don't be watching the news, because you shouldn't watch the news in St. Louis because you'll see things like 28-year-old woman sitting in the drive-thru waiting on her latte at Starbucks. Guy walks up, just shoots her in the head.
Right.
Watch it in the drive-thru.
Yeah.
Okay. So you don't watch the news because then you won't be able to go get a coffee at a non-Starbucks store because we don't go to Starbucks. Well, I don't go to Starbucks. I don't want to get sued. I don't want the station to get sued. And this does not reflect the views of the station. This is Donna Davis speaking. I want to be clear. So let me get to the end of this because we got 14 minutes left. But what I want to say is they're gutting public education. It bars access. It indemnifies the caste system. And it's happening while we're sitting here praising the people who are holding office, county commission, city council, school board. Oh, I love such and such. We need to do something. The same way you get a message saying everybody's gonna die tonight. People be like, yeah, so you want to order the Kung Pao chicken at Changhua? It's amazing. And it's just, what? Did you see the internet?
I didn't see that comment at all.
Changhua is supposed to be the best fried rice in St. Louis. So it just makes me realize that something is wrong, not with, we are well adjusted to a profoundly sick society.
Right. Yep.
And if we don't manifest or demonstrate our maladjustment, and it's not dancing in frog costumes, it's doing, what is this guy, Giancarlo, the actor, said the other day? He said, it's time to throw down. That's what he said. Now, I'm not saying it because I ain't doing no call to actions on this radio station, okay? Mm-hmm. But these Esposito, Giancarlo, these people are mainstream actors who get their money, through mainstream sources and mainstream media. And he was saying it is time to throw down. He didn't say it's time to invoke the 25th.
Right.
He said it is time for Americans to throw down. So that's where we are.
So let's talk to Amy in St. Petersburg. Hi, Amy. Amy? Oh, man, don't tell me she's not there. Oh, the first time we've had a woman call in a while, so.
Call us back, Amy. We need some girl power on here.
Yeah.
You throw some rocks. Come on in here and throw some rocks. Choose the bear.
But, I don't. And then, okay, I love to read the comment threads on places. And so one of my, I loosely call it friends, one of my Facebook friends posted the other day about why are the Democrats so mad that we went and rescued this dude from Iran. And I'm like, they're not mad because we went and rescued somebody. They're mad because he was there in the first place. And it's like, what in the world? Why can't these people figure out that this is not,
They think it's some sort of video game.
Yeah.
And that like there are not real lives and real consequences to imprudent actions on behalf,
right,
coming out of Washington.
Right. Let's talk to Steve in Largo. Hi, Steve.
Hey, man, I always say I'm not going to call Surly this week because I'm tired of all the other people that call every show every week. But then you folks are always talking about the most important stuff. So, I just have to do it. And I think we did mention this last week, what you're talking about. I have friends in Ukraine and other parts of Europe. By the way, I urge everyone to look at the website for the Ukraine Foreign Legion. If you want to do more than being a keyboard warrior, and donating money to the Ukraine Drone Factory is great too. But joining the Ukraine Foreign Legion will give you skills that will help you save America back here.
Time's short, Stephen. Got to kind of wind up your pitch here.
Yeah, I hear you. Now, the thing that I can tell you is that having lived all over the world, Americans are the least serious people, the most entertained, the most adult Disney members, the most prenatal, postnatal, never growing up, selfish, immature, whiny narcissist. As long as Americans have their drugs, their booze, their sports, their porn, their Netflix, and their food, and gasoline, even if it's expensive, they will not have a revolution. They're worse than the Germans when Hitler rose up. The Germans, some of them did try to get rid of Hitler and his people. We're just sitting back. Mm-hmm. The other day, the American president threatened an international genocide against an entire civilization. And let me just extend it a little bit past Americans.
Do it.
Where is the United Nations?
Thank you.
Why is Trump allowed to destroy the world's economy, its energy infrastructure, its trade and shipping infrastructure? Why? He's only one president. Why does he get to ruin everything? And why doesn't Starmer or King Charles or Mohammed bin Salman or any of these rich other world leaders tell him, hey, time's up, bro. You're wrecking everything. Stop now or GTFO. I don't get it.
Well, because he's not going to listen to them, number one.
Yeah, but the UN.
But thanks for calling, Steve. The UN.
Steve was the best caller of the day.
Yep.
Yeah, and I agreed with everything Steve said.
I think the person that we need to listen to when it comes to the UN is the newest member of NATO, which is the president of Finland, who said that the UN needs to be completely rehauled, and that the United States should lose its veto power.
Absolutely.
So let me say this. That right there, what Maria just said, it's going to happen. We're not going to lose the UN. The United States is going to lose its ability to control it. And when that happens, it's like, this is some real FAFO stuff.
Yes.
Once you lose that, you're not getting it back. And so when the BRICS countries come in, when India and China, and once these companies come in and they say, Russia, we're not going to play ball with you. We're going to get together and we're going to pool our resources and we're going to fund the UN and we're going to make sure that the International Criminal Court, and we're going to start dragging people into The Hague, and you're a country of 350 million people and we are the balance of the 7.5 billion people on the planet. And when that happens, people are going to have a hard time. The other thing I wanted to bring up that we didn't talk about was that the majority of people who've been allowed into the country this year on refugee visas have been white people from South Africa.
Yes. And then they get upset because they're not given special treatment and they go back.
So you colonize a country, destroy its people, and now you're getting preferential visas to come to a country that is clearly descending into fascism. Make it make sense.
Yeah.
So that's why I don't read the news, because I open up the news and I see something like that, and then I have to go back to hug my tree truck. I got a tree in the botanical gardens, and we're in a relationship.
Those photos that you put up from oh my gosh, gorgeous.
We're in a relationship. He's big and brown, and tall and dark.
All right, let's talk to Bill in St. Pete. Hi, Bill.
Hi there. Thank you for taking me on. I like your show.
Thank you.
And I just had a comment on it. Thank you. Earlier, sometime during your conversation, you had mentioned about the Democrats being annoyed about why they rescued the officer or whoever who got shot down over in Iran. Well, my theory is about it's about a book that Judge Judy wrote about a decade ago, and the name of it is Beauty Fades, but Dumb Stays Forever.
Yeah.
That sounds so Judge Judy.
Beauty fades, but dumb stays forever. And in one of her chapters is this. It reminds me of the American people, and I hate to say it. We have a president who does horrible things and has done horrible things. And all he has to do is say, I love you. I care for you. I love America. And people go back running to him. And in that chapter of her book, she says that you will be shocked and surprised of how many couples who are in court because of domestic abuse go back together because one of them says, I love you.
It's a trauma bond, yeah.
It is, listen, I'm telling you, and I don't mean to say anything out of line, believe me, but it's true. The American people, especially the ones who voted for our current president, all they have to do is say, I'm for you. I'm one of you. I love America. And they go, oh, I love you too. I'm going to go back to you. I don't care what you've done. Oh, you're my hero.
It's a cult, Bill. All right.
They go back.
Yeah. Thanks so much for calling, Bill.
You're welcome, and bye-bye.
Bye. All right, and last caller will be DeAndre in Brandon. Hi, DeAndre.
Yeah, I guess everyone's kind of like, saying what I intended to say. I even heard like U.S. Wealthy international migration language because I'm from Florida. I barely see anybody I know, and so it's kind of. Anyway, no, you guys are great. Thank you. Great show.
Well, thank you, John. Yeah.
One thing, Maria, you were talking about Bridgerton a month ago. And I'm thinking to myself, you know what? Try Vampire Diaries. Try Vampire Diaries and look through that lens of the world. There's so many, pieces of work out there, like from ages ago. If you kind of figure out the formula for a lens with which they are speaking so that you can kind of like look, it will either freak you out or answer all your questions, but probably still freak you out. But at any rate, y'all have a wonderful day.
Thank you so much, DeAndre. Memphis Mary says, please some week soon discuss this project, Florida Rights Restoration Coalition. So many Pinellas County citizens are unaware of the help these wonderful people provide. And she signs it Memphis Mary because she wants to distinguish herself from the other Marys. But, so.
Mary is the new Karen.
Right. Mary is the new Karen, yeah. So WMNF's music festival called Tropical Heatwave is coming up Saturday, the 25th of April. You can get tickets and find more information at WMNF.org. We're going to give away one pair of free tickets right now on Surly Voices. Just be the third caller to 813-239-9663. And so let me see. We had somebody calling in and they dropped off. Amy in St. Petersburg was who I wanted to talk to the most, and she wasn't there. Any wrapping up thoughts, Donna or Maria? Donna. Oh, wait, there's Donna. Okay.
Next week we're gonna do the tarot hour.
Tarot. Okay. We know tarot readers. I know
I'm a tarot reader.
Yeah. I know.
I brought them into my office this morning with me just in case you guys decided that we were going to go with it.
Let's do it. Next week will be tarot reading time. Yeah.
So you guys give us your we're going to just try to break up the horror here of this, right?
Yeah.
If we're still around next Thursday, bring the tarot cards in. You guys call in and you tell us or you text us who you want us to do a reading on. We'll pull 3 cards on them.
That'll be awesome.
We'll do 3 people.
Awesome. Yeah. And Pam Bondi, if you're listening, I doubt you are, but if you're listening, come on the show. Give us a call. How did it go on Die Hard? Come out to the coast. We'll have a good time.
But it'll be more fun if we actually get a tarot reader to come on.
Yes.
Well, don't you think?
Yes. I know Tamla Garden is a tarot reader. All right. Thank you for listening to Surly Voices on WMNF Tampa 88.5. Please join us again next week.
stunning. I like shining. I like $1 million deals. Where's my pen? Bitch, I'm signing. I like those Balenciagas, the ones that look like socks. I like going to the Tula. I put rocks all in my watch. I like texts from my exes when they want a second chance. I like proving